Welcome friends to a video covering the two best used Acuras that you can get, and this is in my opinion, and I'm going to explain myself throughout the video, but personally I would rather in this economy just buy or lease a new vehicle because used car prices are still expensive. But I get it, some people are just adamant about purchasing a used car. They just love that process and old cars, so I get it. This video is going to be for you. So the two cars that I have here are the 2009 to 2014 Acura TL, the sedan, and the 2013 to 2018 Acura RDX SUV. Why did I choose these particular models? Because both of these are somewhat new, and that means that they are very safe cars. This is why I didn't bother going into the deep archives and choosing some really old, decrepit, clapped out Acura, because when you get up there in age, the vehicles become significantly less safe in a crash test. So that's why I chose some of the newer vehicles. The other thing, I really enjoy driving both of these models. The TL, especially if you can get it with the super handling all-wheel drive, is a proper sports sedan, and the RDX, I really just like the packaging of it, and the 2013 to 2018 models of the RDX came with the naturally aspirated V6. In fact, both of these cars I've selected have the amazing Honda V6. So safety and V6, that's the two main reasons why I chose these two particular models. I personally love the TL, but I just threw the RDX in there because I know some people just love to sit up higher. And the MDX, honestly, it's genuinely not worth it in my opinion, because the third row is completely useless. You might as well just fold that down, and at that point you have a two-row vehicle. And if you're just going to buy a two-row SUV, I think the RDX is better, and you're going to get slightly better fuel economy because the RDX is a smaller package. Anyway, let's talk about the TL first. The 09 to 2014 TL is the mid-size sedan in Acura's lineup. I personally think the TL is significantly better than the TSX, so if you're cross-shopping with the TSX, I would say do yourself a favor, upgrade to the TL. It's a much nicer experience because the seats are much more plush, much softer, and that's going to help you to be more comfortable on a longer trip, whereas the TSX seats are extremely stiff, not as comfortable. So I would just axe out the TSX, go with the TL. Now the RL and the RLX, they are the flagship Acura products. If you can find one used, cool, go with it, because it is going to be the most compliant ride and the most quietest Acura product that you can get going with an RLX. But Acura didn't really sell many of them because most people bought the TL, so that's what you have available. But the TL is also a sharper driving experience compared to the RLX or even the RL. So I just think it's the best blend of comfort, drivability, and if you can get a super handling all-wheel drive, that is ideal, because it's not just all-wheel drive. The super handling all-wheel drive TLs, that was actually the sport version of the TL. They made more power. The standard TL came with a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 producing 280 horsepower. The super handling all-wheel drive TLs came with a 3.7 liter V6 with 305 horsepower. That's something to note. And you could also find them with the manual transmission, but that's extremely rare to find. And that's okay, I don't necessarily need the manual. The 5 and the 6-speed automatic transmissions of this era of Acura is actually really amazing. They shift really well, they give you nice crispy downshifts. The paddles are actually exciting to use because of this. I'm totally fine going with an automatic version of the TL, and this is why when you bundle everything together, it's such a great package, especially in the used market. But when I did a search online, there's literally only 12 clean super handling all-wheel drive TLs available in the country with under 80,000 miles. You can buy the front-wheel drive, that's totally fine. I'm just saying if you can find the all-wheel drive, that would be ideal. If not, that's cool. But the TLs have depreciated quite a bit, so finding a clean one shouldn't break the bank completely, When they were new, a base model TL started at around $36,000 and the super handling all-wheel drive was around $39,500, and it went all the way up to $45,000 if you got it with the advanced package. So those were the original MSRP prices. I'll talk more about reliability and buying these vehicles towards the end of this video. So let's go ahead and let's transition over into the RDX now. Okay, the RDX SUV, once again, I recommend 2013 to 2018. These were the model years where they came with a V6. Prior to that, 07 to 2012, they were 2.3 liter four cylinders, I believe. The V6 is what sets Acura apart. I mean, their naturally aspirated engine, it sounds so good, very sonorous, and it makes the RDX genuinely fun to drive. I mean, Acura is a great driving product. That's one of the things that sets it apart from Lexus. Lexus vehicles have the much superior interior quality and they're a little bit more durable. Plus they're a bit more refined as well. But the Acuras, they stand out because of how they drive. So that's why I wanted to make this video. If you wanted a great driving used product, Acura is the way to go. Because even this RDX, it does have that sharpness to it, and then you tack on that engine, it makes it a complete experience. Plenty of space inside of it. Legroom, headroom, that's not an issue. The trunk space, that's fantastic. And these came with a 6-speed automatic transmission as well. But they made a little bit less power. They were available initially with the 3.5 liter V6 producing 273 horsepower. Got 20 mpg in the city, 28 out on the highway, assuming you got the front wheel drive. But if you got the all wheel drive, then your mpg drops to 19 city, 27 highway. And I might as well mention to you the EPA figures for the TL. Front wheel drive, regular TLs, they got 20 in the city, 29 highway, and that dropped to 18 city, 26 highway for the super handling all-wheel drive. The RDX models did not get super handling all-wheel drive, just a regular intelligent all-wheel drive. That's how Acura branded that. Once again, you can go with the front-wheel drive versions. It's not a problem. They still drive great. Acura does a great job in calibrating their vehicles and how they drive. So you'll still be satisfied with that experience. Another thing to consider with both of these vehicles, when you're shopping for them, if they come with the ELS audio system, that would be ideal because that sound system does sound legit even till this day. So if you can find one with the ELS audio, great. If not, it is what it is. Now let's move on and let's talk about some of the more pragmatic aspects about both of these vehicles, like reliability, purchasing it, doesn't make sense in today's economy, etc. All right, reliability. One of the things that plagues Acura, now that I've done some more research, actually a lot of vehicles suffer from this, and that is excessive oil consumption. The TLs especially, they do suffer from that issue. That's something that you have to watch out for. To fix that, it costs thousands of dollars. I mean, I think you have to, pretty much redo a lot of the engine, some oil, head gaskets, I don't know, a lot of things need to be redone, revamped to fix that, and that costs several thousands of dollars, like upwards of $3,000-$4,000, I believe. But many people say, oh, I don't care if it's drinking oil, I'll just top it off every week. And I don't think people understand it. I mean, topping off the car with oil frequently, that costs money. I mean, that is adding to the cost of these vehicles significantly, especially if you're doing this on like a monthly basis or potentially even bi-weekly, who knows. And it's unfortunate because a lot of used cars have this, and this is why I like to avoid these old clapped out machines. I know they're amazing to drive and all that good stuff, and they have amazing engines, but stuff like this really turns me off. Another issue with the Acura TL, I believe they had some catalytic converter problems. And in general, in the past, Acura's had transmission problems, both with the automatics and even the manual transmissions. Manual transmissions popping out of third gear, things like that. Granted, that was early 2000s, and this is kind of, mid 2000s type vehicles. So I don't think transmission issues was as big of a deal for the vehicles I'm talking about here, but it's just something to note. And Nissan always got a ton of flack for all of their CVT problems, but Honda never got the same level of scrutiny for their transmission issues. I always thought that was hilarious to me, like that that always made me laugh, how Honda's reputation never got tarnished for any of that. People still love them. I guess because they drive so amazing, I guess maybe that's why. But anyway, people see Honda in the same light as Toyota when it comes to reliability. But moving on, the only other thing is the TLs, they don't come with folding rear seats, so that could be a turnoff for some. And with the RDX, surprisingly, the models that I recommended, they didn't really have too many crazy issues. Honestly though, if I were you and you were shopping for either one of these cars and you're paying $18,000, $20,000, $25,000 for clean ones, I would consider paying up for a warranty. You know, maybe paying $2-3 grand for a warranty that covers you for 4 or 5 years. That might be a smart thing to do, because I remember when I had a 2010 TSX, some of the problems I had was the VTC actuator. I believe that can cost like around $800 to fix. I had the oil consumption problems. I got that fixed under warranty. And I think like the ignition coil went out, which is pretty cheap. If you're buying from a reputable dealership, and when I mean reputable, I mean, you know, your typical chain stores, Mercedes, Acura, Lexus, Honda, Toyota, it doesn't matter. Like one of these big branch dealerships, they'll typically offer a warranty. Just don't let them overcharge you for it. Make sure it's a prorated warranty, meaning if you buy a 4-year warranty, that's bumper to bumper, that covers you for everything from drivetrain to electrical. If it's 4 years and you decide to sell the car within 2 years, when you get a prorated warranty, you can get a refund back for the portion you didn't use. So if you paid $4 grand for the warranty and you trade in the vehicle in 2 years, you can get $2,000 back because you didn't use that portion of the warranty. Those are the only ones that I would consider purchasing. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother buying a warranty. And many people mock and scoff this whenever I say that. You know, these are Japanese cars, so fortunately the warranties don't cost as much as European vehicles. But if you hate the idea of getting a warranty and you have this strange romantic idea in your head that you're going to buy this Harbor Freight crane and you're going to drop the engine and do all kinds of crazy work in your garage, then so be it. That's cute and that's very noble of you for wanting to work on your own car. That's great. And fortunately, Honda Acura products are the easiest cars to work on, but I would still find and have a relationship with a Honda tech nearby. Okay, that would still be a good thing to have in your back pocket, a good certified technician for Hondas and Acuras. But would I personally buy any of these vehicles, or would I consider buying a used car? Honestly, no. It still does not make sense in today's economy, I feel like, to buy a used car. I mean, these prices are still astronomical. The starting price for a base model was around 35 grand. Some of the clean RDXs with low mileage, 20,000 miles or so, 30,000 miles, they go for around 30 grand, $27,000 at places like CarMax. You know, these are dealerships. Okay, you tack on the cost of a warranty if you decide to go that route. That's 2 to 3 grand. And naturally, all these dealerships, they have dealer fees. You have to pay tax and registration. By the time you pay all that stuff, you're well past 30 grand and you're almost at the price of what these cars cost when they were brand new. Okay, not to mention, if you're financing a used car, interest rates are so insanely high. But it's not just because of the current economy. Even pre-pandemic, used car finance rates were always ridiculous, which is a shame because people of all incomes, okay, high incomes, low incomes, the majority of people, they always bought used cars. But if they ever had to finance that vehicle, it was astronomical. And that sucks, and that is so unfair that the system has always been that way, to where you're always paying high interest rates on used car loans. That continues today, obviously. The only way to save interest on a used purchase is to buy a certified pre-owned vehicle, which costs a lot of money, of course, because CPO cars are still relatively new. So financing, that's kind of unfortunate. It's best, you know, pre-pandemic, today, doesn't matter. Paying cash for a used car is ideal. That is the best way to buy these used cars. And that means having $20,000 or at least $15,000 to buy some of these models I'm talking to you about. Personally, myself, I would just lease a brand new car. That's genuinely what I would do. I've gone away from these used vehicles completely. I just can't do this anymore. You got your tire expenses, your maintenance, potential repair costs. The car is still going to depreciate. You know, after you buy this and you tack on miles, you still have depreciation with these used cars as well. If you decide to finance, that costs a lot of money as well. If I had to buy a new car today, right now for myself, I would either lease a brand new 2023 Lexus IS 350 F Sport with rear wheel drive with nearly all the options, and I would get that for like $600 a month, no money down. That's one option. The other option is I would do like a one-pay lease on a 2023 Acura Integra A-Spec with the 6-speed manual. I would pay like 15 grand for a 3-year lease, one pay, call it a day. That's like $350 a month. I might consider a TLX for around 500 or so a month, but I would rather just get the IS350F Sport, honestly. I did see some other crazy deals like 6-figure $100,000 Mercedes EQSs and Audi e-trons for $600, $700, $800 a month, but I'm not sure how replicable that is. I would try. I mean, it's an EV car. It's not suitable for everyone, and I personally don't want to have a full EV as my only car, but hey, 6-figure car for $600, I might, entertain that thought if I could get the vehicle, but I'm assuming I can't, so I would just go get the IS350F Sport. That seems to be the most realistic choice. I choose mainly the Integra and the IS because the interest rate on those leases are pretty low, so all those payments I make go pretty much to the principal of the car. And there's a high likelihood that there's going to be some equity left over at the end of that lease. It's part of the reason why I chose those cars, plus I actually like driving them. I'm not a big SUV person, but if I had to get one, I would get like a Jeep Grand Cherokee L, altitude blacked out for like $400 a month, or do a one-pay lease on a Pathfinder Nissan because it looks kind of like a Range Rover and I like driving it. That's gonna end up being like $450 a month. So those are like the two SUVs I would consider. I heard some people get an Infiniti QX80 for like $500 a month. Again, I don't know how replicable that is either because it was probably a 2022 model. But as you can see, new cars, that's kind of the way I would go. But I get it. The stuff that I just laid out to you, that's not going to work out for everyone. Some people drive too much. Some people are not going to do the research on the stuff I just mentioned. Genuinely, because of how bad the economy is, I would probably get like a 2013 and up V6 Toyota or something. Again, sticking to the 2013s and up because they seem to be the much safer car in a crash test compared to the older generation vehicles. And Toyotas, they just seem a little bit more durable than these other car companies. I've come to realize that the term reliability, what most people mean when they say that word is which vehicle can I neglect the most and still run, aka which vehicle can I pour water into the oil tank and still run. I've come to realize that's what most people consider to be reliable, and that genuinely does seem to be Toyota, because you can get an S-Class Mercedes and maintain it perfectly and it will be reliable, it will run. I had this conversation with a subscriber, Daryl, a good supporter of mine here. We're having this conversation. You can buy one of these European cars and they will last. You just need to maintain them, and most people, they want to skimp out on doing that maintenance, avoid putting premium fuel when they're supposed to, and all these things, and that ends up causing issues with a lot of those high-end European cars. And then people complain that it's not durable or reliable. And the reality is those are luxury products that are not designed to be ultra durable, but the point is maintenance is key. A lot of people like to skimp out on that. That's another problem with buying a used car. You have no idea how people treated this stuff, right? So the mystery of used cars, that turns me off. These are just my thoughts. I would like to hear yours in the comment section below. There's always going to be those people that say, oh, I've had this Acura for 49 years and I have like 8 trillion miles on it. I've never done anything to it. There's always those stories. And then there's the other horror stories where people's transmissions take a dump out on the highway and all these things. It's just, cars are like rolling the dice. They really are. And to hedge myself, this is why I talk about warranties and leasing, just to give cars a little bit more stability. That's part of the reason why I mention these things. Some people don't want or care about stability. They just want the cheapest thing that they can get their hands on at that moment. And a lot of people want a luxury branded vehicle, and that's why I want to do this video. But again, if you're an owner, please let us know your thoughts. Let us know how your vehicles have been holding up for you. I will have my next video on the end screen here. Click on it and I will see you there.